Howdy, y'all, and welcome to the Deep South Podcast. I'm your host, Possum Paw McGraw Jr. Before we get rolling, let me just say, if you like what you're hearing, it'd mean the whole world to me if you hit that like and subscribe button. Helps the show more than you know, and I'd appreciate it a ton. Now, some of y'all might have heard about the Winchester Mystery House out in California. Lady built that thing non-stop for decades. Doors to nowhere, stairs to the ceiling, windows in the floor. But what I'm about to tell y'all ain't about a mansion. This is about the day I stumbled on the trailer park version of that out in the woods. Y'all, I was just trying to pay my rent. The landlord sent me a letter saying if I didn't get it to him in person, I was getting evicted. His Venmo weren't working, and y'all know I can't risk losing my spot. So I set out to find him. Now, it's been years since I've talked to the landlord. The last time I saw them in person, it was a woman named Marlene. She died and left the park to somebody else. I got their Venmo in the mail, and that's it. The only other thing I know about them is that they live out in the woods by the park. So I asked Darla Jean where I needed to go. She didn't say nothing. She just looked at me, a slow smile playing across those big old lips. She just pointed and stared. Would you believe me if I told y'all that wasn't the weirdest part of my day? Anyway, I thanked her for the directions and the spike in heart rate, and I started walking straight through the woods in the direction she pointed. After about 10 minutes of walking, I saw it. At first, I thought it was just another busted up double wide somebody dragged out here and left to rot. But no, this thing was stacked. Like somebody took every trailer they had ever found on Craigslist and glued them together at weird angles. Half of it was on cinder blocks and the other half was just floating there like a miracle of duct tape and redneck engineering. I swear, this thing could not be up to code. Even the ghost of Ocean's Past wouldn't go near this thing. So I knocked on the door real polite like. Nothing. I knocked again. Still nothing. Knocked a third time and the dang thing just creaked open on its own. Now, I didn't go in there because I'm brave. But you know, curiosity is kind of like moonshine. You know it's bad for you, but you still take a swig. So, I stepped in. First thing I see is a lady sitting in a recliner, cigarette hanging out of her mouth, watching some game show through a fog of smoke. She had a little chihuahua in her lap, if you could call it a dog. Y'all, this thing looked like what the Grim Reaper forgot about back in 1997. It didn't have no teeth, tongue hanging out, one blind eye staring at me like I owed it money. The other fixed on the smoker lady. So then I figured maybe this is my landlord. I asked her, you wouldn't happen to be the landlord, would you? She don't break stride on that game show, just mutters, no, between yelling answers at the TV. I try again, holding up my check. Well, could you at least tell me where I'm supposed to take this? She cuts her eyes at me like I was trying to sell her dung beetles at a flea market, then just flails that chihuahua, using it to point toward a hallway. Poor thing's tongue flapping through the air as she takes a big old hit off that cigarette. I didn't want to ask her no more questions. So, as I was walking to the hallway, I was reflecting on how many times somebody pointed instead of answering my question today. Twice is too damn many. So, I come up to the staircase, if you can call it that. It looked like somebody built it out of spare deck boards and half a trampoline frame. The steps were sagging like my Uncle Ricky's hammock, and the handrail wobbled like it was just there for decoration. But the weird part was every time I climbed it, I ended up right back at the bottom. I mean, I swear on a jar of moonshine, I took 5 steps up, blinked, and I was back where I started. I tried it again, same damn thing. I felt like I was walking in circles, only my legs were burning like I was training to fill out some of those TikTok yoga pants. It was like one of them fancy paintings where the stairs go up, down, sideways, and backwards all at once. Except this was real wood, creaking under me, smelling like mildew and possum pee. At one point, I swear I saw my own backside up ahead of me on the stairs. That is when I said nope and backed off. So I turned around, looked for another door, and that's when I found a door with a red light bulb above it with a sign that said on air. Y'all, I was like, the landlord can re-record his podcast later. I got stuff to do. So I opened it, and I swear my britches near gave out. It was a whole dang studio. Bright lights, cameras, stage, folks sitting in rows of chairs like they were in the audience of The Price is Right. But here's the thing, as soon as I step in, every single one of them turned their head to look at me at the exact same time, snapped them right at me, like mannequins with necks on ball bearings. And then I hear it, from way across the room behind a big old window in the far wall, there she is, the smoker lady, same recliner, same chihuahua quivering in her lap, yelling louder than ever. The whole crowd turned their heads again to crane toward the smoker lady, her voice somehow cutting through the glass.
Your daddy wasn't a glassmaker.
Y'all, I don't even know what that means. But then, Lord help me, they all snapped their eyes back at me, only now their eyes were solid black, like chunks of obsidian. Their jaws just opened. Too wide, way too damn many teeth, rows and rows of them, like sharks stacked inside of a church organ. And then they all shrieked. One sound, one voice coming out of 50 mouths. I didn't wait around for the credits. I ran across the stage to another door, ran through, and slammed it shut faster than a raccoon caught in a pantry. I found myself in another long hallway. The walls had pictures of that same raggedy chihuahua all over them. Done up in costumes with makeup and Christmas sweaters, even sitting on a little velvet throne. No matter the outfit, the poor critter still looked like it should have been dead 2 decades ago. There was even a floating shelf with the bust of the dog, tongue hanging out of his mouth and all. I was thinking, get me the hell out of here. Only bona fide weirdos care this much about their dogs. At the other end of the hallway, I see 2 doors, one on the left, one on the right. The way I saw it, I had a 50-50 shot of getting the hell out of here or meeting some brand new eldritch nightmare that I can't even begin to fathom. And y'all, I gotta admit, the list for the latter is getting pretty dang long. In a game of 50-50, I'm learning that I need to do the opposite of what my gut tells me. So, I picked the door on the left. Inside was a whole room full of buff fellas in banana hammocks, every one of them with the head of that same chihuahua. Some were doing push-ups wrong, some flexing in mirrors. One was sitting in the corner crying into a shake weight. Half of them looked cross-eyed, the other half were drooling. The ones that were doing both kind of reminded me of Ricky Dale. Suck it, Ricky. I froze, muttering, that's too damn many glistening thighs for one man to handle, and slowly shut the door. So I turned around and took door number 2. I thought, to hell with paying the rent. I'm done with this weirdo Scooby-Doo trailer. I'll just leave the check under the floor mat in the truck. So I push through the storm door and I step out into what looks like a porch, only it ain't in the woods no more. The whole thing's just floating out in space. Stars all around me, galaxies turning, and instead of yard or trees, there was nothing but black forever. From the edge of the porch was a trail of single boards stretched out over the emptiness like somebody built a walkway for lunatics. So I'm like, hell no, and I turned back. But when I reach for the storm door, it's gone. Just solid wall. Pure, unfiltered, unadulterated, what the fuck? Where the door should have been. So, I don't see what choice I had. I swallowed hard, stepped onto the first board, then jumped to the next. Only gravity ain't right here, so I overshot, slammed my chest down hard on the one after it, clinging with my arms while my legs dangle out over infinity. Took all I had to pull myself up, thanking the Lord I wasn't going to fall through weird trailer space forever. So I try again, and this time I start getting the hang of it. Jump, land, balance, jump again. Halfway across, I think, hey, this ain't so bad. That's when I hear it behind me. I turn, and there's an extremely buff man wearing only a banana hammock, leaping from board to board like he was born doing it, with the head of a giant chihuahua. I figured one of those banana hammock weirdos must have slipped out of that room I saw earlier, but this one was moving different. The others looked cross-eyed and drooly, but this guy, he had some kind of purpose in his step. Well, as much purpose as a bug-eyed chihuahua man can have. I scream and I start jumping faster, boards wobbling under my boots. He's gaining on me, so I make a big old leap, sail past one board, and on the way across, I snatch it up in my hands. I spin around just in time. He's mid-air coming straight at me, and I swing that board like Babe Ruth at a county fair. The buff chihuahua man flips backwards, flailing through space, yapping as he spins away into the stars. I'm laughing and crying at the same time, heart hammering. The Chihuahua man made quite the shooting star. So I finish crossing the last few boards, pull myself onto another porch, and there's a plain old door waiting. I slam through it before any more cosmic gym dogs can chase me. Inside was a room with an old box TV with a VCR right in the center. Surrounding that was wall-to-wall VHS tapes. Stacks and stacks from floor to ceiling. No labels on any of them except one, sitting all by itself on the floor. Black tape, white sticker, big old letters. Paw. So I put it in the VCR, and what comes up next near stopped my heart. It was me sitting right back in that smoky recliner room handing the rent check to the Chihuahua, the dog. The dog was the landlord. So I make my way back across the porch of boards, through the hallway of dog glamour shots, dodging shrieking stage crowd until I'm back in that room with the smoker lady and her pup. I point and shout, "It was you the whole time?" The smoker lady hollered another answer at her game show and muttered, "Why do you think I held him up earlier? It weren't for his health." The Chihuahua nodded, real calm like, tongue hanging out, and in his little raspy voice says,
"Yes, my name is Mr. Bartholomew. I sent Leonard after you. I didn't want you poking around and getting lost in my trailer. It takes us months to find the people once they're missing. Where is he, by the way?"
I swallowed hard. I might have launched him into space. He was chasing me across the board bridge, and he scared the hell out of me. The Chihuahua just chuckled, belly jiggling.
Folks fall off those boards all the time. They always land back.
That same banana hammock body lands face first on the floor right in front of us. The landlord dog sighs.
I told him that banana hammock freaks people out, and all that jumping, yeesh.
I just blinked at him, letting that sink in. I glanced over at Leonard, sprawled out on the floor, then to the smoker lady, and finally back to Bartholomew. I said, wait, so Leonard, y'all are his parents? I asked, immediately regretting it. I really didn't want to picture the logistics. Mr. Bartholomew huffs.
Oh, good heavens, no. The lady's just my caretaker. I like to sit in her lap while she yells at the TV. It reminds me of Marlene.
Hell, I was thinking maybe that was all one big buff chihuahua man litter or something. Y'all do not want to spend too much time thinking about that one. It will ruin your supper. I glance at him sideways. Then what's the deal with all those other banana hammock fellas? Mr. Bartholomew waves a paw.
See, that room you stumbled into, it just keeps making new ones. When I inherited this place, Leonard showed up out of nowhere. Then another. Then another. Turns out there's some kind of weird quantum portal in there spitting out alternate Leonards like bad photocopies. And the longer it went, the worse they got. Half of them can't walk straight, can't fight. One thinks he's a microwave. The one that you fought out on the boards, he was the prime Leonard. The only one worth a lick. He's my enforcer.
I told him I thought that was pretty weird. Might need to get Natalie to come over and check that one out. I asked him why he built all this if all he was going to do all day was sit in the recliner with old what's-her-name. The chihuahua sighs and sits back in the recliner like he'd been waiting on me to ask. In that little raspy voice, he says,
This trailer wasn't my idea. It was my mistress, Marlene Winchester. She was the widow of the fella who invented Twinkies. You know, those little golden snacks that taste like sugar and insulation foam. She hated them. Shut the whole company down after he passed. But once she did, she started getting haunted something fierce. Twinkie wrappers in her bed, cream filling dripping from the ceiling. Her husband's ghost moaning, one more bite. So she built this place to confuse them. Rooms that go nowhere, porches into space, whole dang wings that don't make sense. She worked on it till the day she died.
I just blinked at him, letting that one sink in. Y'all, I like to think that I have a pretty high tolerance for weird, but this was too much. It was time to leave. So I handed him the check proper, and he tucked it under his paw like it was the most normal thing in the world. I backed toward the door and slipped out into the woods. Next time, Bartholomew is giving me a P.O. box to send that check to. So I reckon it's about that time again. Grits and the boys have taken it upon themselves to handle the fan mail. And Lord help me, they showed up this week wearing official Deep South Podcast banana hammocks with my face plastered right across the front. Every time one of them hands me a letter, they stop, flexing their little possum muscles like they're auditioning for a county fair bodybuilding contest. And then they strut off like they just won Mr. Universe. And with that horrifying image burned into my brain, it's time for everybody's favorite segment, Redneck Mail Time.
Redneck Mail Time. It's time for Redneck Mail Time. Yee-haw, Redneck Mail Time.
Letter number 1 comes from Lindsay in Alabama. She writes, Pa, my trailer makes a knocking noise every night at 3 a.m. I think it might be haunted. What should I do? Lindsay, if it's happening every night at the same time, that ain't no regular knocking. That's a ghost on a schedule, which means it's polite. Get yourself a lawn chair, sit up at 2:55, and pour it a cold one. Ghosts just want to be acknowledged half the time. If it drinks your beer, congrats, you got yourself a roommate that don't pay utilities. Letter number 2 comes from Terry in Kentucky. He asks, how do you get rid of a possum that keeps stealing dog food off my porch? Terry, you don't. That possum has chosen you. Best thing you can do is name it. Maybe knitted a sweater if you're crafty. I got a buddy named Sergeant Grits. He's been living off my leftovers for years. Once you accept it, you'll never have to clean up scraps again. Free pest control, courtesy of Mother Nature. Letter number 3 comes from Megan down in Texas. She says, my cousin swears Bigfoot is living behind our shed. I heard noises, but I'm scared to look. Megan, you're in Texas. If Bigfoot's out there, he's sweating bullets like the rest of y'all. Put out a box fan and some beef jerky as bait. If it's Bigfoot, he'll appreciate the hospitality. If it ain't, well, you just made some raccoon real happy. Letter number 4 comes from Dale down in Florida. He writes, there's a light that keeps dancing over the swamp near my house. Could that be aliens? Dale, that could be swamp gas. It could be aliens. It could be both. My advice, don't point a flashlight at it. You don't want to start no intergalactic light show. Instead, leave a 6-pack of Mountain Dew at the swamp's edge. If it's aliens, they'll take it. If it's swamp gas, you'll at least have something cold to drink while you watch. Letter number 5 comes from Janet over in Ohio. She asked, "Pa, my neighbor's rooster crows at midnight and it's freaking me out. Any advice?" Janet, that ain't a rooster, that's a time demon in poultry form. Only cure is to confuse it. What you need to do is set up 3 alarm clocks all ringing at different times. Keep it guessing. Eventually, it'll either reset to sunrise or wander off to haunt somebody else's farm. So, what did I learn? If your landlord's a dog, you better pay him on time. Never trust a storm door in a Scooby-Doo trailer. Bananas and hammocks do not mix. And if you see a porch floating out in space, don't step out unless you're ready to wrestle a buff chihuahua man. Thank y'all for stopping by. You've been listening to the Deep South Podcast. I'm your host, Possum Paw McGraw Jr. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell your buddies about the podcast. It helps me more than you know. Y'all be safe out there and stay weird.